There's a quiet whisper in life's final season. It doesn't shout. It doesn't storm in. It simply knocks, softly, on the edges of our routines. A forgotten appointment. A plate left untouched. A nap that turns into hours of silence. For many families and caregivers, the final year of an elderly loved one's life isn't marked by dramatic moments, but by subtle, deeply human signs that often go unnoticed. Today, we'll talk about those signs. Not to bring fear, but to bring peace, understanding, and the grace to respond with love when time is gently winding down. Sign 1, a profound withdrawal from life. It often begins in the smallest ways. A once social elder stops attending their favorite gatherings. They say, "I'm just tired," more often. This fatigue isn't just physical, it's emotional and spiritual. It reflects a quiet resignation, as though the world feels heavier to carry. You might notice their phone goes unanswered, even when they used to eagerly respond to every ring or message. Family visits that once brought joy may now be met with indifference or fatigue. They may sit quietly, detached, watching but not engaging. Meals that were once shared with laughter may now be eaten in silence, or skipped altogether. There's a stillness in their room that feels unfamiliar. Not restful. Not peaceful. But vacant. They may stop making plans for the future. No more talks of birthdays, holidays, or next week's events. This withdrawal is not rudeness. It's not depression in the traditional sense. It's often a subconscious retreat from the outside world. Sleep patterns may change dramatically, long naps during the day, restlessness at night. They may express a vague feeling of being done. Phrases like, "I've had a good life," or "I'm ready whenever God is," begin to surface. You might hear them reminiscing more. Stories from decades ago come flooding out, not for nostalgia, but as if they're slowly closing the book. Even things they once loved, gardening, reading, crafts, seem to hold little meaning now. The energy to maintain friendships fades. They let relationships drift, not out of anger, but exhaustion. If they're religious or spiritual, they may spend more time in prayer, reflection, or solitude. You may notice them sorting through old belongings, giving away prized possessions or organizing letters and photos. There is often a shift in priorities. Conversations become simpler, more focused on presence than plans. They may begin expressing regrets, or seeking closure from old wounds. Sometimes, they'll apologize unexpectedly for long-forgotten things, as if preparing emotionally to say goodbye. Their smile becomes rare, but when it appears, it's quiet and deeply meaningful. Eye contact changes. Sometimes it lingers longer, other times it fades into the distance. Even their movements slow. They may seem unhurried, almost as if each step is a final dance with time. Music, poetry, or prayers from the past may bring sudden tears. Sign 2, drastic changes in appetite and weight without clear cause. One of the most visible signs the body is preparing for its final chapter is a sudden and unexplained change in appetite. Meals that once brought comfort now seem like a burden. Plates go untouched, or just nibbled at. Not out of protest, but because hunger itself begins to fade. There's a shift in the body's natural rhythms. The senses dull, smell, taste, even thirst. Food no longer delights. It simply exists. And sometimes, even that is too much. The body, wise in its way, starts to slow down processes it no longer needs. You may notice their clothes seem looser. Their face may take on a more gaunt appearance, especially around the cheeks or neck. The weight loss isn't intentional. It's gradual, sometimes even unnoticed until it's undeniable. When asked, they may say they're just not hungry. Or, nothing tastes good anymore. And they mean it. Food, once tied to joy, culture, memory, now becomes irrelevant. Even favorites from the past lose their meaning. Some elders will begin to prefer soft, bland foods. Toast, soup, tea. Meals that are easy to swallow and require little preparation or chewing. Others may begin skipping meals entirely, finding even the act of sitting at the table exhausting. This change is often misunderstood by loved ones. Caregivers may worry they're being defiant or depressed. But often, this is simply the body preparing itself, quietly letting go of what it no longer needs to sustain. It's important to note that this is rarely about starvation. It's about a shift in energy. The body starts to conserve rather than consume. Eating becomes a choice they slowly let go of. In some cases, even swallowing becomes a challenge. The muscles involved weaken. Sips of water may replace full meals. You might notice coughing after drinking or chewing, a small but significant sign of struggle. They may begin pushing food around the plate, pretending to eat to avoid worry. Others will openly admit, "I just don't want it." And there's honesty in that. As this process unfolds, hydration becomes more important than nutrition. But even water can be refused. The desire for intake fades, just as the body's demands lessen. For families, this is deeply emotional. Feeding is one of the oldest expressions of love. Not being able to nourish someone feels like failing them. But in truth, it's about acceptance, not force. Some will find peace in sipping broth, or a spoonful of pudding. Others may want nothing at all. And that's okay. It's a part of a deeply natural process. You may also observe changes in metabolism. Despite eating less, their body may seem bloated in certain areas due to fluid retention. This can be confusing, but it's common in the body's final adjustments. The skin may begin to look thinner, more fragile. Bones appear more pronounced. There's a visible frailty that settles in the shoulders, the hands, the frame. Food, once part of social life and celebration, becomes an individual journey. Their detachment from meals is not personal, it's biological. A shift that no longer serves survival, but serenity. Caregivers might try supplements, protein shakes, or even feeding schedules. But none of these can override what the body instinctively knows. Forcing food can cause more harm than good, physically and emotionally. Sitting with them while they sip tea, or simply being present during mealtimes, becomes more meaningful than the food itself. It's not about consumption. It's about companionship. This is a season for gentleness. Gentle foods. Gentle expectations. Gentle love. The kind that doesn't demand, but listens. Some may have moments of clarity and eat heartily one day, then nothing for days after. These fluctuations are natural and often unpredictable. There may be a spiritual element, too. Many elders in this phase describe feeling lighter, empty, or floating. There's symbolism in the body's slow release. Culturally, some traditions see this stage as sacred, a preparation. A fasting before departure. A cleansing. And even if not intentional, the meaning often rings true. The kitchen becomes quieter. The refrigerator stays full. Meals go uneaten, but love continues in new forms. In the final months, food may shift from nourishment to memory. A single bite of something once loved can bring tears, not of pain, but of gratitude. A final taste of life's sweetness. Eventually, there may come a time when no food is wanted at all. And while this can feel alarming, it is often accompanied by peace. The body is wise. It knows when it no longer needs to fuel the journey. Barakut lanjutan naska untuk poin ketiga dari video YouTube 5 signs an elderly person may be in their final year, subtle warnings you shouldn't ignore, tetap tanpa penamaran, dan dengan narasi reflective yang menyentuh. Sign 3, noticeable shifts in breathing and energy patterns. Breathing, so automatic, so rhythmic, begins to change in the final months of life. And it doesn't always look like gasping or obvious distress. It starts subtly, like a song slowly losing tempo. You might first notice long pauses between breaths. They're not dramatic, but just long enough for a loved one to glance up in quiet concern. Sometimes, the rhythm picks back up. Other times, it slows again, like waves moving further apart. There can be a sense that their lungs are working harder, even when they're not exerting themselves. A walk to the kitchen leaves them winded. Talking for more than a minute might feel exhausting. The air feels heavier for them, like every inhale carries weight. Their voice may grow softer. Not from sadness, but because the breath behind it is fading. Words are still there, still meaningful, but whispered now, as if their body is asking the world to lean in and listen closely. At night, breathing can become more irregular. A pattern known as Cheyne-Stokes may begin, a cycle of deep breathing followed by shallow breaths, then a pause. It can be startling the first time you hear it. But it's a natural part of the body winding down. Some may develop a raspy or rattling sound when they breathe. This is often due to fluid collecting in the throat or lungs. It's sometimes called the death rattle, a term that sounds far more frightening than the experience itself. These shifts in breath are rarely painful. More often, they're signs of a body that's conserving its last stores of energy, directing what little it has toward comfort and rest. You might also notice that they begin sleeping more. Not just naps, but hours of deep, still rest. And when awake, they may be groggy, slow to respond, or appear as if they're between two worlds. Energy becomes a precious currency. Even opening their eyes takes effort. Activities they once enjoyed, TV shows, books, even conversations, become too taxing. And yet, there's often a peace to this stage. The stillness isn't fear, it's surrender. A graceful letting go of the need to move, to speak, to do. Caregivers may instinctively want to stimulate or encourage activity. But in this stage, allowing rest is one of the greatest gifts you can give. Moments of alertness may still come, sometimes unexpectedly. A sudden clear sentence. A smile. A memory shared. These flickers are like candlelight in a quiet room, brief, beautiful, and worthy of full presence. Sometimes, their hands may feel colder. The circulation begins to change as the body redirects energy inward. You may notice their skin becoming paler, or fingers tinged with a bluish hue. It's important to remember that this is not suffering. It's transformation. The body is adapting, slowing down its functions, preparing for transition. Some people will begin to shift posture, curling slightly, preferring to lay on one side. Others may stay still for hours. Every body's language is different, but the message is often the same: conserve, breathe, rest. There may be sighing, a deep release of air that happens more often. It's not frustration. It's the body exhaling what it no longer holds on to. Family members might panic at the slightest pause in breath. But knowing what to expect eases that fear. This is not a failure of the body. It is the body's quiet finale, step by step. Touch becomes more meaningful than words. A hand held. A forehead gently pressed. The breath may change, but your presence does not go unnoticed. Even when their eyes are closed, the warmth of love still lands. Sign 4, emotional clarity and unfinished goodbyes. As the body slows, something remarkable often begins to happen in the heart and mind. While physical strength fades, emotional clarity sharpens. Things that were once buried rise to the surface, not to haunt, but to be healed. Many elders, in their final year, begin to speak in ways they never have before. Words come that were once locked inside. Apologies, confessions, blessings, and sometimes even quiet regrets start to pour out. It's as though a veil is lifting. They may want to talk about childhood memories that shaped them. Loves they never fully expressed. Mistakes they never forgave themselves for. The things they once kept hidden now demand light. You may find them asking to see someone they haven't spoken to in years. A sibling they fell out with. A friend they lost touch with. These aren't casual requests. They are soul-level nudges toward closure. Even if the body is weak, the need for emotional reconciliation grows strong. Some will ask for letters to be written. Others may request a final phone call. There is a quiet urgency in their voice, because somewhere deep inside, they sense the clock winding down. They may become emotional in ways that surprise you. Tears may come easily, sometimes from joy, sometimes sorrow. They might weep over a song, or laugh unexpectedly at an old joke. These shifts aren't signs of instability, they're signs of release. The soul is doing its work. Untangling knots. Releasing weight. Making peace. You might hear them say things like, "I'm proud of you," even if it's not something they said much before. These moments come unannounced, sudden gifts of affirmation that carry the weight of a lifetime. Sometimes, they begin speaking to those who aren't physically present. A spouse who passed years ago. A child they lost too soon. This isn't confusion, it's often comfort. A sense of reunion already beginning in their spirit. They might express a desire to go home, even if they're already in their house. This can mean more than a physical place, it's a longing for spiritual home, for rest, for return. Words become fewer, but more meaningful. They choose carefully what they say. There is little energy left for small talk. But when they speak, listen closely. It often holds deep wisdom or unfinished love. For some, a sense of humor returns. A spark of their old self breaks through. They may joke, tease, even flirt a little, especially when surrounded by those they trust. It's their way of staying human in the face of goodbye. Others may become incredibly quiet. Not because they've given up, but because their attention is turning inward. Silence becomes sacred space. The past may come alive. They recall dates, smells, names with surprising clarity. Not all memories are pleasant, but they are real. And sharing them helps give closure not just to them, but to everyone listening. Some might speak in metaphors. I think the train is close. I feel like I'm packing my bags. These symbolic phrases are their way of preparing, finding language for the unspeakable. They may begin thanking people more frequently. Even for small things, a cup of water, a smile, a touch on the shoulder. Gratitude deepens when time becomes sacred. You might find they want to go through old photos, journals, keepsakes. These aren't just objects, they're touchstones. Each one opens a window to meaning. And often, they're ready to let go of them now. Sometimes, the biggest goodbyes aren't spoken aloud. They're communicated through a long glance. A lingering hand. A kiss on the forehead that says everything words cannot. They may also begin letting go of roles they once held tightly. The matriarch, the protector, the provider. They begin handing over responsibilities, quietly and intentionally. It's a form of blessing. As their final year unfolds, some will want their loved ones nearby constantly. Others will need more solitude. Both are valid expressions of love and transition. There may be sudden clarity, a moment where they look at you and say, "I know what's happening." And in that moment, there is no fear, only truth, held gently between two hearts. You might hear them speak to themselves. Whisper prayers. Sing hymns. Recite poems they learned as children. It's all part of the emotional ritual of letting go. Not all goodbyes are complete. Some remain unfinished, and that's okay too. But often, what needs to be said finds its way out. Because in the final season, the heart speaks more freely than ever before. Being present during this time is not always easy, but it is one of the most sacred acts we can witness. Not every elder gets this chance to express, to reconcile, to release. If they do, honor it. It is their final emotional gift. Sign 5, Withdrawal from the world and a gentle turning inward. In the final year of life, many elderly individuals begin to withdraw, not abruptly, not out of bitterness, but with a softness, as if quietly stepping away from the world they've long embraced. This